everybody. My name is Jaguar Wright, but most of you know that. Welcome to the Jaguar Wright Show. But more importantly, welcome to a really, really, really important conversation with a very amazing young woman that I'm enjoying getting to know. And even in the controversy of everything that's happening and going on regarding the case and regarding what's happening to her very real life and marriage, we wanted to take the time to make sure that everybody had all of the facts. There's been a lot of things that have been misled, misconstrued. And I decided, why not just open up the platform so you guys can hear it from Demoree herself, because that's the most important thing. So often in these times, our voices are cut off, we're silenced, false voices are speaking louder than real ones. And everybody knows we stick to the real around here. So, hey, Demoree, welcome. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing well considering everything that has happened. Thank you for having me here today.
Well, thank you for reaching out. I consider it a big honor. Ever since I won Defender of Freedom, it's not just something that was given to me that I cherish. It's something that I want to use to do, God's work and really help people. So I want to thank you because you're going to be like the first interview that I'm doing since then. So this is a big deal. And there's so many people on the platform that I already know are going to jump behind your story and support it. So let's just get started with a little background on you, if that's okay.
Of course.
My first question for you, can you tell us a bit about your upbringing, your relationship with your mother, who happens to be the CEO of Roc Nation, Desiree Perez? How was your relationship with her before then and now?
Yeah. So I was born in New York as a little baby, 9 months. My grandfather had to take over to raise me because my mother was incarcerated and dealing with the criminal justice system for the crimes that she committed in the early 90s. Moved to Miami, Florida with my grandfather, who raised me with his partner, his long-term partner, in Miami, Florida. Went to school in private and public school. Only spoke Spanish, learned how to speak English at like 7 years old as an American. Yeah, because he only spoke Spanish. So I had to learn in the school system and all that. Raised very humble, right? In humble beginnings with my grandfather. And my mom would, visit when she can, but at the time she was incarcerated and dealing with all that stuff. And then at the same time, I think it wasn't until the age of 13 or 14 that I actually lived in the same home as her, when she was able to kind of get a home, get out, have, some type of stability. And even then she would travel back and forth. So my foundation and really where I was raised is my grandfather, and I'm grateful to him.
You sound like you have a really wonderful relationship with him, and I want to get into that a little bit more later. But also, how long has the relationship with your mom been strained at this point?
I haven't seen my mom since December 25th, 2023. That's the last time that I saw her physically. The last time I spoke to her was December 30th, 2023, when she said that I was dead to her. So that was the last time that I spoke to her.
She said you were dead to her?
Yes.
Well, why?
That was due to my husband Javon's first arrest that happened on December 30th, 2023. My mother and our relationship has always been strained in the sense that since I was raised by my grandfather and his long-term partner, who she disliked for different reasons that I don't need to address here.
Family business.
Right. Family business, right? I don't want to drag other people's business on here to respect my grandfather's history. But, she had tension with my grandfather's partner who raised me, who I actually called mommy in Spanish. So as you can imagine, that rubbed her the wrong way. But again, this is somebody that at 9 months, right, was feeding me, taking care of me, taking me to school with my grandfather.
First steps, first
Exactly.
losing of the teeth. Yeah.
So I developed that bond and that love for her, and obviously for my grandfather. And so at 13, being forced to, okay, now I have my life together, come move with me. That's when the strain really started as a child, and the trauma, because all I knew was my grandfather, which I call abuelo, and that's all I wanted to do is be with him. So that's kind of where the strain with her and I started, right? Because she forced me to move with her when she got her life together, and with my siblings, obviously. And then it was just, that was the real beginning, but then it was just like,
so there was tension, but there wasn't like escalation, just tension.
It was just tension, debates, arguments. I'm very different than my siblings in the sense that,
how many siblings do you have?
yes. So we're 5 from her. We all have different, yeah, we're 5. We all have different fathers. I have a 6th sister who's my stepfather's daughter. So we're 6 in total, because I don't count her as like not my sister.
Yes.
So I would say we're 6 in total. And I would say I'm different in the sense, since I was raised by my grandfather, and he's a very independent, free thinker, doesn't conform, can't be controlled type of personality. That was the problem, because going from that for 13 years to then being under the same roof as somebody who's a Virgo, who's a narcissist, who feeds off control, as you can imagine, as a teenage young lady in high school, dealing with the trauma of my childhood, now coming into this environment, the personality differences, the rebuttals, and things like that. So there was tension, there was arguments, there was problems, but it wasn't at the level that it is right now.
And just to be clear, I know you said that your siblings, you all have different paternal links, but were you ever involved with your paternal father and his family in any way?
No. So unfortunately, I call him my sperm donor, because in all reality, my grandfather raised me, and then my stepdad, who I have, my maiden name is Perez because of him, stepped in that sense. So I never really had a relationship with him. He unfortunately has a history of selling drugs, being involved with the cartel in Puerto Rico, was in and out of prison since the age of 8 from Puerto Rico. And as you can imagine, when he got with my mother, that wasn't a good mix, right? 2 people on the streets from New York, getting involved in wrong things. They weren't in the position mentally, emotionally to raise a child, which is me.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful that my grandfather stepped in, because my biological father was very much involved in the whole cartel business and all that, and is currently serving a life sentence as we speak. So I do not have a relationship with him. He attempted when I was a young child, but then just disappeared. And sometimes would try to touch base here and there, but not the effort that you would expect from a grown man. So I just left it at that, since I didn't really feel I didn't have the emptiness that most people feel.
Well, God gave you what you needed.
Yeah, my grandfather really, he stepped up to the plate. So that's the history with my biological dad. Yeah.
Okay, so basically, outside of your maternal family and now your in-laws, it's been a very quarantined family environment for you for most of your life.
Yeah, I grew up with a lot of trauma, because my biological dad, my parents went through the, oh, she's my daughter. No, she's my daughter. And, this is public record. He tried to file for custody and take me away from my grandfather. That was traumatic for me.
So this is just, your whole childhood was wrapped around chaos.
Yes. I grew up in unfortunately, with a lot of minorities, right? Hispanics and the Black community, unfortunately, that tends to be a repeated cycle, right?
Yeah.
Young parents, having kids too young, growing up in the wrong environment, and it's a repeated cycle. So I went through a lot of trauma growing up. I went through a lot of toxicity, right?
Yeah. And conflict,
Conflict.
emotionally, physically, spiritually, conflict.
Conflict, yes.
And one last thing, just for reference, are you the youngest or the oldest?
I'm the youngest girl.
Okay.
The youngest is the boy. I'm the youngest
Okay.
girl.
So you're the baby girl. Okay. So then
Yeah.
there was another child that came after you.
Yes, my
Okay.
little brother.
Okay. So, and how's your relationship with your siblings now?
I don't have a relationship, unfortunately, now with my siblings. I think that my mom has poisoned them against me in the sense that I never wanted to involve them in the issues that her and I were going through.
Mm-hmm.
She involved them. And I know when we get to the rest of the interview and we go through timelines, I'll be able to emphasize the part where she involved them.
Right.
But I did my best to try not to involve them because I'm the type of person that if you're my sister, my relationship with you has nothing to do with my relationship with my mother. That should be two different independent things. That's how I think. Unfortunately, that's not how everyone thinks, right? And so in my situation with my siblings, and I love them and I understand. I'm not mad at them about this. Obviously, I miss them. I wish that they could communicate with me. I wish that they could hear my story and understand. And that's part of the reason I wanted to speak up too, because I think they have only been presented one side of the story, which is my mother's. They've only been presented with fake stuff, and they haven't really had the opportunity to really hear my voice. I know that they tried a few months ago, but when I was dealing with the beginning of this case, I was afraid. I didn't know who I could trust, who I could talk to. So I just, I didn't really respond. And I waited for the MB6 news to come out for them to see a little snippet of the Baker Act video, for them to get an idea, okay, that's not right what happened to her. And I thought that they would reach out, but they didn't. And I understand because at the end of the day, that's their mother, right? And, they might not think like I do in the sense that it's two independent relationships.
There's one other thing there that I think we had spoken about when we were just, having our prep conversation. You said most of your siblings work for your mom.
Yes. So that's what I was going to get to. So there's also the compromise, right? Or the conflict of interest. I don't know how to word that.
That's double compounded. Go against mom, lose your job. Go against mom, lose your job. That's a lot.
Go against mom, lose sensibility, security, lose all you ever knew. So I can't blame them. They're all smart, beautiful human beings, but I can't blame them because
they're being held hostage by the situation as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And I can't blame them, right? Because you're dealing with somebody, a narcissist who's controlling the narrative. She's had enough time to control it where they almost believe it. So all I could hope is that they come across this interview, they reach out. I'm at the stage of my life where I prioritize my peace over anything. So I'm not reaching out because it's out there. I have strangers reaching out to me, showing compassion and feeling bad just off of the Baker Act video. I'm not asking you to go against my mother, but hey, sis, I'm sorry that happened to you. I know you're not a drug addict because they know that. Something along those lines, right? Because if a stranger can do it, why couldn't you? So I'm at the point in my life that I prioritize my peace. And if they don't want the relationship, they don't want the conversation, that's fine. If they do, I welcome it with loving arms because at the end of the day, they're my siblings.
You want to know what's interesting, though, about everything that you said? If I were to put myself in their shoes to see what's happening to your life because you disagreed with your mother, that speaks volumes. Because what I've learned is when you have a gaslighting effort and campaign on your life, what people are watching is, hey, I don't want that to happen to me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to go through that. I'm going to stay out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's something that I'm going to ask everyone on the platform to keep in prayer for you, because you really shouldn't have to lose your life just because you disagree with someone. You shouldn't have
Right.
to walk away from that. So, speaking of family, what do you honestly believe is the root cause for your mother's slander campaign on your husband?
If I had to give a short summary, it would be a mixture of power, control, narcissism, classism, racism. I think that me dating Javon is a
Yeah.
symbol of going against all that she believes, all that she thinks, right? Uh,
Mhm.
all that she taught me in the sense that's how she sees it.
But can you explain that a little more? Like, what was it about Javon that was so out there? You know what I mean? That she couldn't, just mesh with it. I mean, I'm talking to you and I'm getting to know you. And the one thing that I hear in your voice when you speak about your husband, it's just support, love, care, honor. So, what was it about him that would create this kind of reaction?
Yeah. So Javon's a very independent, free thinker. And now in
Mm,
society, that's a threat to others, unfortunately, right?
yeah.
So the minute I met Javon at 14 years old in high school, freshman year, we started dating. So my mother has been around him. We're 30 years old now. She has been around him for that amount of time. She's seen him grow up. She's been around, his family has been around. I think since the very beginning, when we first met, it was, you know, racism in the sense like, why are you dating him? Oh, he grew
Mm,
up where? Because he originally was born in Liberty City, Florida, which is known here as a bad neighborhood in Florida.
yeah.
And his mother uprooted him and moved him to Homestead as a young single mom who lost her husband very young, had to restart her life, raise him, had a phenomenal career, raised her sons from all that trauma, brought him to a good place here in Miami where we live. He went to school, did what he was supposed to do, and she kind of took him from that environment. But I think that was it's strange, but I think that displeased my mother in the sense that she didn't like, okay, well, he's from Liberty City, like very judgmental, which is
Mm,
hypocritical, right? Because she's from the Bronx and was selling
yeah.
drugs and was incarcerated, and my father was the head of a Puerto Rican cartel. So it's a little bit, not a little bit, it's very hypocritical, right?
A little
Uh,
bit.
yeah, and it's crazy because Javon has never been involved in that lifestyle. I mean, we went to a very good public school. It's probably number one here in the state of Miami. He got a D1 scholarship to UConn, great
Okay.
grades, great football player. I went to Boston University. Like, we genuinely grew up as good kids, never sold drugs. He's never been incarcerated, neither have I. So to judge somebody at 14 years old for the neighborhood he came from, or to judge his father or his mother and, be a little bit racist, and I just think it was unfair. And so in the very beginning, it was trying to prove to her, oh, he's worth my time. I want to be with him. He is the good guy. And so it wasn't too crazy for her because she didn't think we were going to last. So at first it was like
Ah.
classism, racism. Okay, whatever. She's not going to last. Then as he started to grow up, as he started to, like, us, right? Everybody, we grow up, we start to develop our personality, our traits, we start to learn and grow. He had different experiences. He went to a D1 school where he had situations, right, with, am I going to go to the NFL? Am I not? He started to do research, take these classes in college, learn about himself, the culture, right, the environment that we're in. And then that's when he kind of wanted to veer off what society kind of introduces to us as the correct path. So you go to
Yeah.
college, you do your 9 to 5, you work in the corporate world until you're 62. you retire, you have your family and your kids. Javon was very adamant since we were in college that he didn't want to go to the NFL, that he didn't want to be in a position that pulled him away from his family, from his wife, from his normality, right? He was very adamant, and that's really what attracted to me, and that's how I knew, okay, I'm gonna marry this man, because I was like, man, anybody else, they get the opportunity to go to the NFL with all the girls, the groupies, the traveling, they're gonna jump on board, right? And he was like, I don't want that. I don't care for that. I care about, starting a career, opening my own business, taking care of my family, because he does still have family in Liberty City, raising my kids, being present. I don't want to work for a corporate job that pulls me away from my kids. And I didn't know, I knew about a little bit about that because my grandfather's a business owner, right? My mother and all that.
Yeah.
But I was just taught, this is how you're supposed to operate. And so when Javon presented those ideas, when Javon kind of encouraged me to think outside of the norm, that bugged her, because now it's, oh, you're going to listen to him and not me. I'm the CEO of Rock Nation. I know this person. I know that person. Why wouldn't you want to come work with me? Or why wouldn't he want to work with me? It's all about power, control, and classism. And so when she saw that he wasn't like the typical man or young man that would conform and do that, and that it was impacting me in a positive light, she saw that as something negative. She saw it as, oh man, this guy I'm going to lose grip and control over my daughter over this guy. That's how she thought.
Wow. Okay. So
that's I was trying to, I wanted to get to the root.
No, I'm not talking about you. I'm just talking about the gravity of everything I'm hearing. Because typically the one thing that a mother wants, especially for a daughter, is for her to find the right guy who has the right values, who's going to treat her right and be devoted. And it sounds like that's what you found. It seems like you found the right guy, and he sounds like a really great guy. But more importantly than that, it sounds like your granddad.
Yeah.
Like he sounds like he's the kind of guy that your granddad is like. So, and that happens with women. When we have paramount figures in our life, like my dad, I feel the same way about my dad that you feel about your granddad. And I'm not sure how old your granddad is, but my dad was born in the 30s. And he just sounds like the kind of man that was born somewhere between the 30s and the 50s. That's how those old schoolers were.
1936.
Okay, so he's right behind my dad. My dad was 33. Those times crafted a certain kind of people. And how lucky for you to find a young man that actually possessed those qualities. So for me, once again, you can call all the isms in the world. You're happy, right? You were happy. You have to be happy. 16 years. Do you know how many people can't pull that off at all? And 16 wonderful years. And now all of this. So, okay, well, you know what? Let's just jump right into it. Let's jump into the red flags. Let's talk about the surveillance. Because we really need to start getting to the heart of what's happened to your life. It's been extremely unfair. So at what point did you start feeling like something was seriously wrong, or either being orchestrated or manipulated in your relationship with your mom?
Okay. So I think, honestly, I didn't notice until the police showed up on September 11th, 2023. However, Javon noticed since early 2019. He started to tell me, I'm being followed. He was sending me pictures of men following him, videos. He was very adamant about telling me, your mother, I think your mother doesn't like me. She's having me followed. I'm not sure if she's trying to catch me doing something wrong. I'm working a normal life, living a normal life. And at first, as the young girl who, loves her mother, I didn't believe him, right? I thought, oh, this
Yeah.
guy's being paranoid. It caused arguments in our relationship because he felt that I didn't trust him. And I just thought there's no way. Like, why would she have him followed? Like, there's absolutely no reason because we were going to family events together. She seemed to have a great relationship with him. So I didn't understand the motive. I didn't understand why that was even possible. And
Mm-hmm.
so that caused a little bit of strain. I mean, we almost broke up on multiple times because he's, telling me something, but at the same time, he wants to be careful because he doesn't want to lose me because it's my mother, right? And so that became a difficult situation. I really, really, really started probably noticing, I take that back, not on September 11th. At my job, at my job,
Which
uh,
job?
yeah, so I started working at Iconic Creative Agency with Benny Frahela and Liz Frahela from here, Miami, Florida, in 2020. They're an agency that has contracts with the Nike brand and the Jordan brand. They do events in New York, they do Super Bowl, they do like store activations, like when Nike has a shoe release. This is kind of like what they do as an agency. Uh, the backstory, how I got to them. I think this is important for timeline purposes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I went to school in Boston University, went to school for social work. I originally wanted to be a lawyer, did all these internships and work with lawyers. And then I got offered a position to work with survivors of torture in Miami. And I loved it. I was making nothing, but I started off, helping survivors of torture and domestic violence here in Miami, worked for this nonprofit, had clients. I worked with asylum seekers, so women who crossed the border, who were trafficked, who were trying to get asylum here in the United States. So I got to work with them, and different population of women, children, and even men, because there's a huge population of men that also suffer from abuse, torture, and all that kind of stuff. And so the pandemic hit. So the organization shut down. I was left without a job. And I was desperate because, again, I grew up with my grandfather. At this time, I was living with my grandfather in 2017, because I tried to live with my mother after college, but it was like
Too much.
yeah, we were clashing. It was too much. So my grandfather, his Alzheimer's started getting worse. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to move in with my grandfather. I'll be happy there. I'll be able to, get a job, save money, take care of him, and I will be away from the toxicity and the conflict.
Right.
So I moved in with him in 2017, lost that job due to the COVID pandemic. And I was looking everywhere for a job. I mean, I would do like part-time jobs at the daycare, stuff like that, but nothing stable because we were in a national pandemic. At that time, my mother said, hey, I know somebody who's hiring. I can connect you. I was, since very little, adamant I would not work anywhere that had any type of ties or she knew anybody, because I wanted to always, earn my positions, earn my title, earn my job. And I never wanted her to say, oh, I got you that job, because I witnessed her do that with my siblings. I witnessed her do that with my grandmother. Like when she bought my grandmother's house, oh, I bought this house for you. This is my house. Like very abusive things. And I didn't want to go through that. So the jobs before Iconic, I got myself, even if they were low paying. I was fresh out of college, no experience. So
Right.
of course, you got to start somewhere. And so because I was desperate and she was like, I don't really know her like that. I know her husband. I was like, okay, I'll try it. If it becomes too much of a conflict of interest or it bites me in the butt, I'll leave. Right. So I interviewed with Liz Frahela at Iconic. At the time, it was Liz Frahela, Benny Frahela, and Cindy Boozer, the owners. Was offered an entry-level job. I was told I was going to be like the marketing manager, and it was going well. I thought everything was going well. But then I started noticing little things like, oh, why can't you stay late, like after hours? Or, oh, why don't you travel here or travel there? And I was very adamant in the interview that I didn't want to travel. Number one, I wanted to be with my grandfather. Number two, I wanted to be with my dog. And number three, Javon and I opened our business in 2020. So I also wanted to be present to help out with that.
Yeah.
And so They didn't require me to travel in the beginning, but I started noticing that it was weird. Like they were trying to, oh, stay after hours to work this project and come meet this person. And so I was like, I'm being paranoid. So I didn't really, think anything of it. Then the September incident happened when the police told me why they were called and how they found out. I'll pause there because I feel like I've been talking long for you to ask me about that.
Oh no, and don't get me wrong. I'm going to jump in where I need to, but I really want people. I want to make sure that when we get to the end of this conversation, there are no more questions.
Okay.
So I want, especially considering what's going on in the backdrop that everyone doesn't know about. So this is your opportunity. This is the opportunity that you deserve to just have the floor. So please say whatever you need as you need, and we'll pick it up. But so this is what's going on. This is the timeline. We have, as I call it, the plandemic happening. A lot of things were shutting down in the system. You're an independent woman. You're not looking for a free ride. You're not looking for a handout. You just wanted to be able to work and be there with your granddad, do your business. Like these are all normal things for a very awesome, smart, bright person. Like I still don't see how we get to this, because you're kind of like the kid that every parent wants.
Thank you.
So, all right, well, let's just pick it up. So you got the job and now you're starting to feel like, something could be off. It's not feeling right, but you didn't want to think you were paranoid, just like Javon, all of this. So when did it really hit you that, okay, this is orchestrated?
Yeah. So I think also I want to mention this on the platform because Dr. Daniel Bobar's team is making it a personal vendetta to use this against me. So there's something I do want to clear up here on your interview now that we started from the pandemic and how I got into Iconic in the timeline. Yeah. So I'm hired at Iconic 2020. It's important to know, since I was raised by my grandfather and his partner had 2 kids coming into the relationship. Those 2 women, because they're not legally married, were seen as my mother's stepsisters, right?
Okay.
Those 2 women lived in the home as I was growing up. And one of those, I considered them my aunts, even though biologically they weren't. One of them, my aunt, she was a teacher, principal, taught me how to read, taught me how to write. When I was going through the custody case where my dad was trying to take me away from my grandfather and my mother, I was assigned a guardian ad litem, and she was actually the one who was doing the visitations with the court so that the court could see that I wasn't neglected, that I had somebody to help me with homework, that I could read, that I could write, that I was, in a stable
very
home.
Active in your life.
Exactly. So that was my aunt. I loved her dearly, considered her my aunt. I grew up with her. She passes in 2020 of pancreatic cancer. As you can imagine, that was a hard blow for me because my cousin, her son, was 9 years old, just loses his mother. My grandfather, to him, he just lost a daughter, right? His partner was, she just lost her youngest child, who was very active. Like she would come every weekend to our home after chemo and we would take care of her, or my grandfather's partner would go to her home. So I had a very, very direct relationship with, she was in hospice and I was at home with her son, helping with home. And with the pandemic, we couldn't visit her in the hospital. So we had to deal with, her dying, not being able to. Alzheimer's mother, was at the lowest of the low. So I'm here to my grandfather take care of her mother. When her son's coming over at 9 years old, I'm trying to, comfort him while I'm suffering and grieving. At the same time, I'm trying to get a job and get my life together. So at that point, I was like, I'm going to do grief counseling. I'm going to do grief counseling because I'm taking everybody else. And it felt like oh, you need to take care of yourself. You need to be, it wasn't that I was depressed. No, I was functional. I was acting perfectly. Everything was going well because I was taking care of all people. The counseling because I wanted to learn tips, strategies on how to help the people in my home. I was dealing with a 9-year-old child who lost his mother, and I didn't know how to communicate with him, with striking a chord or triggering. It was all very new to me because it was the first time I lost somebody so close to me. So that's why I was like, I'm going to do grief counseling because all of this is going on. Be able to support, these people in the house, and at the same time have tips and tricks. And at the same time, I'm sad. Like, it's not that I have, by the way, never in my life diagnosed with a mental illness. I did the grief counseling to grieve her. And that's very important for the context of this, because Dr. Daniel Bober, you try to use that grief counselor as a source when in reality, she has never done anything. Very strong. I have never been suicidal. I have never done drugs. She started seeing me for grief, and I ended up loving her. And I would continue doing therapy because I wanted to. Like, as a human being, I think we can all use that, right? We're managing our day to day in our life, but not because I had any diagnosis, just because I really loved her as a counselor. And I was like, why not with her, tell her what's going on in my life? But she's very adamant, and that was provided to the court, that I have no mental illness, that I'm not, never. And that's what I wanted to tell you of my life that happened, that led me to grief counseling, that is being negated, unfortunately, and used against me. And I want to really emphasize that.
Well, that's terrible, because what it sounds like is that there were a bunch of extenuating around. Here comes a dream job. You know what I mean? And you're there, and then these things are going on, and then you do a responsible thing to well-being and health and spirit for your family, and now it's being weaponized.
Yeah, it's incredible. Without naming any names, without trying to throw anybody under the bus, I witnessed a relative in my family try to commit suicide in front of me because of my aunt's passing. That's why I wanted to learn how to help people in my house. And that's why I ended up doing grief counseling, not because I was in that space. Yeah. No, I'm a firm believer in, like, no matter what happens, God has me. God has me. And there's always some suffering a harder battle. So me personally, I would never, and I've never been fortunate enough to never been in a dark space to have those type of thoughts. I wanted that thing. And I by that, like, I've never been suicidal. I've never been in that dark space. So I'm fortunate enough that I've learned to know how to manage my feelings and emotions and my trauma. And I've never been in that position. So it's crazy because multiple people were aware that I witnessed somebody in my family try to commit suicide in front of me. I stopped it from happening. And that's why I went to grief counseling. And then years later, here comes Dr. Daniel Bober trying to weaponize it against me, like you said. But I'm fortunate enough that doctor, because she's very private with her clients, I want to be respectful of her. But she's such an amazing counselor that, she could have easily been bought, and she's not. She wasn't. She said, I believe in my life, in my ethics. This girl does not have a mental illness. She's better than 99.9% of all my patients. She's never been suicidal. She's very strong, and she stood by that. She defended it, and that's what you see in the body cam when it's away, so people can't pick up. And that's why she wrote the letter in court, and she's adamant about that. So I just wanted to use this moment to touch upon that, because I don't want, again, people trying to use that against me. And in all reality, everybody should see
They straight killed the stream. That's crazy. And we're gonna start this again. Jesus Christ. We'll be back. We're gonna start it again. All right. Wow.
Why was Mo and O clipped that day? I don't know. Why did they blame Yellow Beezy? I don't know. Truth is, Boosie had a lot to gain by watching Mo 3 move around. Maybe that's why they shot him over there at the Big T after the wake. A lot of shit goes down at the Big T, but for Boosie to get shot, I guess that's why Mo 3 got shot right over there. I guess that's why I couldn't stay in Dallas. I had to get out to watch Mo 3 be assassinated, executed, running for his life down this highway in the middle of the day. Like, it was this time of the day. Look how busy this is. And somehow, he was forced to stop his car. Someone stopped their car as well, got out the car. He saw them, he must have recognized, because he turned and started running down the highway in the middle of the day. And they shot him in the back. This make any more sense than the Tupac shit? How the hell was there enough time on a busy highway like this at this time of the day? Who does a shooting in the middle of a highway? She in the middle of the day. And still no answer. It's always too hard to solve a rap murder. Another graveyard.